Hello and welcome to Chess with Simon. I'm Simon. Last night when I was putting my son to bed, I played a game of chess lying in the bed, 10 minutes each, me and my opponent, not me and my son. He was off to sleep, although he does like a game of chess. And we played a beautiful variation, a beautiful line. And, there is a bunch of lines in chess that just reveal the depth, complexity and beauty of chess. So I would say the Museo in the King's Gambit, King's Indian four-pawn attack, Grunfeld exchange, the whole of the Grunfeld actually, but the Grunfeld exchange in particular. Smith-Morra Gambit in the Sicilian Dragon, Danish Gambit. There are lots of lines which just reveal the complexity and even the humour available in chess. And I think this is one of them. This is the Wilkes-Barre variation in the Italian game, or the Traxler Counter Attack, as it's sometimes referred to. And it's a really interesting game. I think we'll just flick through it and then maybe afterwards see what we can learn. So let's see what happens. So e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So this is the two knights, knight f6. This allows knight g5 attacking that f-pawn. So the standard move here is pawn d5, which stops the attack on the f-pawn. But I have played bishop c5, which is not a blunder. I don't think it's unsound. I think bishop f7 is the best move. So I played a correspondence tournament in this, quite a long tournament with a lot of rounds. And in the final round, really everybody was playing bishop f7 because after knight f7 it tended to peter out to a draw. And actually the engines, when they really think about it, they tend to think it's a draw too. But it looks absolutely hair-raising. Knight takes f7. Looks horrendous. But black has this move, and at this moment when you first see this, you just think this cannot be possible. This cannot be happening. This is a couple of beginners playing. Well, I'm not a beginner. I'm not saying I'm that good, but I'm not a beginner. So this is not a couple of beginners playing. This is theory. And this mathematically does work. And so for a long time the teaching has been king f1 is correct here. You really shouldn't take the bishop. Actually Stockfish now, when you run it for a long time, Stockfish is deciding to take the bishop. But I think it's because it's all coming to a draw. Although finding one's way there is really hard. It is not, particularly in a 10-minute game. In correspondence, it seems like you can do it if there's a bunch of people playing correspondence, but in these timed games, you've got to know what you're doing, big time. King f1. So black stops his queen being taken. White picks up a whole rook, and black still has a bishop hanging. But black just goes ahead and sacks a pawn. White takes, and then the knight moves into a threatening position. So what the queen's doing here is the queen wants escape squares. So pawn c3 attacks the knight and creates an escape square for the queen, escaping with check. By the way, you'll see the evaluation bar jump around here. Actually, I wouldn't take too much notice of that because this engine isn't quite strong enough to really understand what's going on. And even stronger engines, which I've been running on this, they still take a while to really get it, and we'll see a bit of that. So this is this is what the engine thinks is the best move, and it thinks white is +4, so white is completely won here. So bishop attacks the queen, queen check. The engine still thinks that white is +4. Now when you block with the knight, the engine completely changes its mind. And there's a great... My son is really into PogChamps at the moment, and all of these streamers playing chess, and loves Nakamura and Gotham Chess and all of these guys. But XQC plays a game where he said, the computer didn't even know how I won that. Computer couldn't even understand it. Now, this line, the computer really can't understand it, because here the computer says that white's won. Black moves, and then this computer says it's a draw. Actually, the stronger engines start to realise now that I think this is winning for black. So from here, I think it's winning for black, although this engine still has it as a draw. White takes the knight here, and immediately the computer sees the danger. But actually, it's not easy. I mean, for instance, king takes f2 doesn't work. So white takes. And if you guys have ideas and innovations in the comments, it's always good to hear. Because, of course, what we need here is we need an improvement for white, because we know that chess is not won for black, right? So white needs an improvement. And I happen to know what those improvements are, or at least some improvements. But I'd love to hear what you think and what you would have played as white, if indeed you play the white side of this, or want to play the white side of this. So I played bishop takes pawn, which the computer approves of, but not entirely. Well, he wants to play, is it a he? It wants to play queen f6. I played this. Bishop e2, check, only move. Oh, it's not the only move. Bishop could go in the way, and then I take the bishop, right? So here, white could put the bishop in the way, and then black takes it. Okay, ran, here, check. And all of a sudden, you know, where is that king going? That king's going on a long and dangerous journey. Here, castling came naturally to me because I like to attack the knight. I like to castle. I see that a7 is defended by a bishop. I don't think the king's got a lot of choices. I mean, the king's it's in a real net. Not quite a mating net, but it will become a mating net, and it's certainly in a net. And I want to play bishop f5 check, and then I want to play the knight fork on c5 and win the queen, and I'm assuming that's going to be curtains. Knight c3, check, the knight fork, but I missed the fact that his knight is attacking my queen, so now I had a bit of a think, and I managed to find the best move, which was to take, and to liquidate that knight, which was attacking my queen. I worry that he can take on a7 and get his queen out of trouble. But then I also managed to find the best move, which was really pleased with, actually, which was to sack the bishop with check. Sack the bishop with check. So what's this all about? What this is all about is, the minute this happens, I can then play knight a6 check with tempo. The king's looking very exposed. My rook's going to enter the game. And my knight can defend back on b8 if it needs to defend a queen check on a8. King takes. I think they're completely forced, right? No other move than taking. No other move. Check. King there. So I took this way, which again the engine strongly approves of. I assume that now the rook is in the game, it's over. And actually, I mean, look at that king, is completely undefended. And the engine says mate in 6. Now, I don't quite get this precise. I think I was down to a minute at this point, or soon after this. And so I found a way to bail out and win a bunch of material. And actually, I don't have a problem with that, because when you've got a minute left on the clock, you can spend 30 seconds looking for a mate, and if it's not there, you're then down to 30 seconds, and it might become a real Skittles game. And I didn't want to do that. I wanted to win this game. So let's take a look. So queen here, check. My king moves here, which the engine likes. I think this was virtually the only move to avoid checkmate, because I think the strong threat is rook a5. King can only go to b3 and then queen d3. So this creates an escape square for the king. Now again there's a threat of checkmate on c2, which white has to address. Yeah, I mean queen c2 is curtains, and actually there's no way of defending the c2 square or really meaningfully checking the black king, so this looked forced. I don't think white's got a lot of options. And look, the white rooks, I mean, white might have won one of my rooks, but the white rooks are on their starting square. And the queen's rook is blocked in by the bishop, which is also on its starting square. I mean, this kind of dynamic chess is so much fun. Check, king there. Check. So this is best. This, look, he liked this. And then he, the computer, it liked this. And then in this position, I decided to bail out with material. So check here wins the queen. Knight here. Won the queen. Now white does get some development, but it's all a bit too late. Setting up a discovered check here. Rook there, check. King moves, and then I can pick up that naughty knight in the corner that won my rook. And the engine says it's +10 to black. I think I wouldn't have a problem winning this in a minute. I think it's not going to be difficult. As it happens, my opponent resigned. So I really enjoyed that game. I would recommend taking up the Traxler with either side, and the Grunfeld, and the your King's Gambit, you just, you know, and the 4-pawn attack and the King's Indian. They're all great. But that's not to say I don't like a Queen's Gambit declined exchange variation, or a Caro-Kann, or a French, you know, or a Berlin defense in the Spanish game. We're all good, very different, but still interesting in a different way. So, yeah, I'd encourage you to take this up just for the interest and the kind of art of it, really. And if you have improvements, either for white, to show how white could have avoided this fiasco, or for black, because actually black wasn't entirely accurate at the end. Sometimes there was a mate in 7 and I wasn't quite playing it right, which I have no problem about, because to be honest, once you get down to a minute, it can be really fun to get it just right. But also, doing that, you end up with 15 seconds on the clock and you end up not being able to move the mouse quickly enough. So sometimes being pragmatic and kind of just liquidating to something which you know is won and you can play in your sleep is pretty healthy, I think, with a minute left on the clock. So I really hope you've enjoyed this. It's raining and windy outside. Chewy's nowhere to be seen. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.